we're about to hear from, ultimately escorted out of the event, but not escorted off the beat. I'm happy to welcome Delegate Ibrahim Samirah to the beat. How are you?
Excellent. How are you? Thank you for having me, Ari.
Absolutely. We just saw that footage. I want to understand, and our viewers to understand, why was it important to you, being a lawmaker, being able to be in that room, to use your freedom of speech that way?
It was an extremely tough decision to go into it. This is a monumental celebration for Virginia, 400th anniversary of democracy, not just in Virginia, but in the entirety of the Western Hemisphere. And here we have a president coming and espousing all sorts of xenophobic rhetoric, all sorts of hate. And we have here a Jamestown, Virginia, that stands for essentially immigrants coming to the Americas in pursuit of a better life. And the body that which they created was supposed to be representative and democratic and upholding the values of Virginia, that which we have on our seal, anti-tyrannical.
When you decide to do this, you're taking a risk. The president might come after you, which he did. I'm going to show that in a moment. Before I show that, did you factor that in? Did you think that you could achieve something by going at him directly? And we talk about civil rights. We all know there's a rich history of direct action in this country, of the idea that sometimes doing things in the same room or in front of the building or in front of the protest is different and more powerful than wherever else we may say them. Could you give us some of your thinking about that?
Absolutely. I mean, something that sticks in my head is some of my mentors would tell me for Martin Luther King, for one Martin Luther King, there was 100 Martin Luther Kings that came before him that struggled, that failed. And look, I worked hard in my own life. My parents have sacrificed a lot. My family has sacrificed in the face of poor immigration policies. My father in particular, a victim of poor immigration policies of the United States, as federal government. Look, the risk is unbearable to think of what would happen if we allow Trump to just come and energize his base here in Virginia when we have an election in 2019. We're looking to win. We're looking to flip the legislators blue.
Right.
We're looking
so
to make sure.
You wanted to counter him with your own, and talk about a dramatic president. You wanted to counter him with your own message that would be seen and heard. It was heard. Now let's, as promised, look at the president about you. Take a look.
The only problem, John, you gave the protester 100% of the time, and I don't care about coverage. The last thing I need is coverage. But listen, hey, John, 100%, not one word of the speech. And, you know, we were there about the speech. The protester didn't look so good to me. I'm going to be very nice. But you gave him 100%.
Your response?
Look, the President of the United States has done this time and time again where he wants to shut down media. He acts like he's in a tyranny here. We are not progressing towards that direction. We're going to make it loud and clear that our constituents here on the ground, as Democratic representatives, myself included, of Herndon, Virginia, that they are a diverse community that respects equity, that wants to enable people on the margins, to uplift them, to give them good policy, to fight against systemic discriminations of all kinds. This is what every Democrat in the country is hopefully fighting for, and this is our pathway to victory in 2019 in Virginia and in 2020 all across the United States.
I'm about out of time, but the last thing I noticed is you basically confronted him over your view and your criticism that he has been discriminatory and racist. And what seemed, according to his own words, to bother him was that you took some of his media time.
Well, you know, his media time is so valuable to him as somebody who's from Hollywood. I completely understand that to his perspective. But in reality, look, this is the time for Americans to rise, of all kinds, of all types, of all backgrounds. We're here to uplift people on the margins for the betterment of everybody across the board, their health care, their pharmaceutical costs, their public health overall, their education. We're here to talk about real policy initiatives that will advance America forward for the next 100 years.
Which I appreciate you mentioning is something we've been discussing throughout the top of our show tonight, on a day that, again, like other days, has been stressful for the body politic. Delegate Samirah, thank you so much. My thanks to Mark Morial, Joel Blurg,
thank you so
and
much,
Danielle Moody Mills, all here in New York with me. We have Ari Melber. You're watching The Beat on MSNBC.